You ever wake up on a random Tuesday morning in 2026, grab your phone to check your bank app, and feel that little punch in the gut when you see the balance after rent, groceries, utilities, and maybe that one unexpected car repair? You worked hard all month, maybe even picked up some overtime or a side gig, but the money just evaporated. Groceries that used to feel manageable now cost what feels like a mortgage payment from 5 years ago. Gas prices tick up every other week. Rent notices come with another hike, and your credit card statement shows that minimum payment barely dents the balance. You look around at your friends, your coworkers, your family. They're all grinding too, but nobody's getting ahead. It's like we're all running on a treadmill that's speeding up just a bit faster every month, and honestly, you start wondering if normal is just another word for slowly going broke. My name is Finn, and I spend way too much time thinking about money, financial psychology, and why some people seem to glide through these economic headwinds while the rest of us are constantly stressed about the next bill or that nagging feeling that one emergency could wipe us out. I've seen it in my own life. You know, back when things felt a little steadier, I thought if I just worked harder, budgeted smarter, avoided the big mistakes, I'd be fine. But watching the numbers in 2026, with inflation still chewing away at real purchasing power and everyday costs refusing to come back down to earth, it's clear something deeper is happening. The surprising insight here, the one that could genuinely change how you look at your finances, is that going broke isn't always about reckless spending or laziness. It's often the result of quiet, systemic forces combined with subtle human behaviors that feel completely normal but are quietly draining your wallet. Understanding these harsh truths isn't about blame. It's about gaining the perspective shift that lets you protect yourself, make better choices, and maybe even start building something real instead of just surviving paycheck to paycheck. What if the game was rigged in ways most people never notice, and spotting those patterns was the first step to opting out? It's a heavy thought, right? But stick with me, because pulling back the curtain on why this is happening to so many normal people in 2026 might just give you the clarity you've been craving. Let's dig in. One of the biggest culprits is what I call the inflation trap, the way persistent price increases, especially on the stuff you can't avoid, like housing, food, energy, and healthcare, are outpacing wage growth for millions of regular workers. You've probably felt it. That grocery run, where the same cart of basics now costs 20 to 30% more than it did pre-pandemic, or rent jumping another 5–8% while your salary bumps maybe 3% if you're lucky. Reports heading into 2026 show inflation cooling to around 2.7–3.8% annually, but still stubborn on essentials, with cumulative price hikes since 2020 making everyday life feel punishingly expensive. Real wage is your buying power after inflation haven kept pace for large swaths of the middle and working class, creating this slow erosion where you earn more on paper but feel poorer every month. Take my friend Alex, for example. He's a teacher in his mid-30s. Solid job, responsible guy, no fancy vacations, drives an older car, packs lunch most days. A few years ago, his rent was manageable at about 25% of his take-home. Now, in 2026, after multiple increases, it's closer to 40%, and groceries for his small family eat another big chunk. He got a cost of living adjustment, but it barely covered the rise in utilities and food. One month, an unexpected dental bill pushed him to carry a credit card balance for the first time in years. Alex isn't extravagant. He's just caught in the squeeze where costs compound faster than his income. The simple breakdown here is the difference between nominal and real income. Nominal is the dollar amount on your paycheck. Real is what it actually buys after inflation. When inflation hits essentials, harder housing up dramatically, food prices elevated, energy volatile, it disproportionately hurts lower and middle earners who spend a larger percentage of their budget on these basics. Add in the psychological factor, we adapt quickly to higher prices. It's called hedonic adaptation. So we normalize the pain instead of pushing back aggressively. Why does this matter to you? Because if you're not actively countering it, that silent drain turns into a permanent lower standard of living. You delay saving, skip retirement contributions, or rack up debt just to maintain the basics, trapping you in survival mode. Actionable takeaway? Track your spending ruthlessly for 1 month using a simple app or spreadsheet. Categorize every dollar. Then negotiate where possible. Ask for raises citing cost of living data. Shop around for cheaper insurance or utilities annually. And build a cost buffer by cutting one subscription or dining out habit to redirect toward an emergency fund, aiming for 3 to 6 months' expenses. Personally, I started doing monthly price audits on my recurring bills a couple years ago, and it shocked me how much I was overpaying out of habit. It felt tedious at first, but that small frustration turned into real savings and peace of mind. Speaking of housing, that's often the monster in the room, the housing crunch that's making normal homeownership or even stable renting feel impossible for younger generations and middle-class families in 2026. Home prices have firmed up or grown modestly but remain elevated from pandemic surges, while mortgage rates, even if easing slightly, keep monthly payments high relative to incomes. Renters face similar hikes in competitive markets. Affordability metrics show that in many metros, a typical home or apartment now requires an uncomfortably large share of income, often over 40%, leaving little room for savings or discretionary spending. Imagine Sarah, a marketing coordinator in her late 20s, living in a mid-sized city. She graduated with decent student loans, landed a stable job, but housing costs ate her budget alive. Her one-bedroom rent jumped 15% over 2 years. Buying seemed out of reach with down payments and rates. She downgraded to a smaller place farther out, adding commute costs and time, but still feels stretched. When her landlord announced another increase, she dipped into savings meant for a car replacement. Stories like Sarah's are everywhere, people making it on paper, but one rent hike or repair away from crisis. Break it down. Housing is a fixed or semi-fixed cost that scales poorly with income for most. When supply lags demand, zoning issues, construction costs, investor activity, prices and rents rise faster than wages. This creates a wealth transfer from renters/young buyers to owners, landlords, widening inequality. Psychologically, it breeds helplessness because housing feels non-negotiable. You need shelter. It matters because it locks you out of wealth building, no home equity growth, forced into high rent cycles, delayed family starts or moves for better opportunities. Many end up house poor or perpetually renting without building assets. What can you do? Research cost of living differences across cities or suburbs, sometimes a 20 to 30-minute commute. Trade-off saves hundreds monthly. For renters, negotiate lease renewals with data on local comps or offer longer terms for discounts. Buyers, focus on affordability calculators using the 28-36 rule, housing under 28-36 rule, housing under 28% of gross income, total debt under 36%. Save aggressively for a larger down payment to lower payments, and consider multifamily or fixer-uppers if feasible. I once moved to a slightly less trendy neighborhood myself. It felt like a downgrade at first, but the breathing room in my budget let me invest more and sleep better. Light humor here. Nothing kills the adulting vibe faster than realizing your dream apartment costs more than your first car did. Then there's debt's silent grip, the way easy credit, high interest cards, auto loans, and lingering student debt compound into a vicious cycle, especially as payments resume or rates stay elevated. Credit card delinquencies have ticked up. Auto loans are burdensome with higher vehicle prices, and student loans, with potential garnishment or subsidy shifts in 2026, add pressure. Minimum payments feel manageable short-term but trap you paying mostly interest forever. Picture this, Jake, a software tester supporting his aging parents. He used credit cards for a medical deductible a couple years back, then rolled over balances during tight months. Now at 22 to 25% APR, that $5,000 debt is ballooning despite payments. Add car payments and student loans restarting, and his take-home barely covers necessities plus interest. He's not irresponsible. He's just one layoff or rate hike from deeper trouble. Concept breakdown. Debt snowballs via compound interest working against you. At high rates, paying minimums means years or decades of extra cost. Behavioral trap. Present bias we value, immediate relief. Buy now, pay later, over future pain. In 2026's environment of sticky prices, people borrow to bridge gaps, digging the hole deeper. This matters because debt reduces net worth, stresses mental health, limits options, harder to quit bad jobs, start businesses, and creates a poverty cycle where you work to service debt instead of building wealth. Takeaways: list all debts, prioritize highest interest, avalanche method, or smallest balances for motivation, snowball. Call lenders for hardship options. Balance transfers to 0% promo cards if credit allows, or consolidate. Cut spending to free $100 to hash month extra toward principal. Build the habit of paying more than minimum immediately. I carried a small card balance once after a move. Paying it off aggressively taught me how freeing it feels, like removing invisible chains. Frustrating realization: those buy now ads make it so tempting, but that short-term high costs way more long-term. Another layer is the illusion of wealth driven by lifestyle creep and social media pressure. You get a raise or bonus, but instead of saving, you upgrade your car, apartment, wardrobe, or vacations to match peers' curated feeds. In 2026, with Instagram and TikTok showcasing normal luxuries, new gadgets, dining out, travel, it's easy to feel behind even when your income is average. This keeps people broke despite decent earnings. Consider Lisa, an office manager who earns solidly. Post-promotion, she upgraded her phone plan, subscribed to more streaming services, ate out more because she deserved it, and financed a nicer car. Social media made it seem everyone was doing it. 6 months later, her budget was tighter than before the raise, with less saved and growing anxiety. Breakdown: lifestyle inflation is the tendency for expenses to rise with income, erasing potential savings gains. Anchoring bias from seeing others' highlights makes moderation feel like deprivation. Combined with easy financing and BNPL options, it normalizes overspending. It matters because it prevents the compounding magic of early savings investments. You are trading future security for temporary status, perpetuating the broke cycle across generations. Advice: implement a raise rule. Allocate 50% of any raise to savings/debt, 30% to wants, 22 needs adjustment. Audit lifestyle, cancel unused subs, do a 30-day no-spend challenge on non-essentials, curate your social feeds to follow frugal or value-focused accounts, track net worth monthly to see real progress. Personally, I fell into this after my first big freelance check bought gadgets I barely used. The regret was a great teacher. Now I pause 48 hours before discretionary buys. It's amusingly relatable how one treat yourself spirals into monthly commitments. Job and income insecurity adds fuel, especially with gig economy prevalence, automation/AI risks, and potential layoffs or slower hiring in 2026. Wages grow modestly in some sectors but feel precarious. Many juggle multiple jobs without benefits or stability. A single income disruption, illness, contract end, sector slowdown, can cascade into debt or depleted savings. Example: Miguel, a rideshare driver supplementing retail work. AI tools and economic softening reduced demand some months. Vehicle maintenance costs rose. No paid sick days meant lost income during a flu bout, forcing credit use. He feels constantly one bad month from broke. Concept: income volatility versus fixed expenses creates fragility. Lack of diversified skills or emergency buffers amplifies it. Behavioral: over-optimism about job security leads to undersaving. Why important? It forces reactive finances, selling assets cheap, high-interest borrowing, preventing proactive wealth building. Actionable: build multiple income streams, skills like freelancing, certifications for better roles. Maintain 6+ months emergency fund in high-yield savings. Upskill continuously via free/cheap online courses. Negotiate benefits or remote options. I transitioned part of my work to consulting after seeing friends laid off. The extra buffer reduced my stress dramatically. The frustration: gig apps promise flexibility but deliver unpredictable paychecks that wreck budgeting. Finally, hidden costs and financial literacy gaps. Healthcare deductibles spiking, retirement underfunding, poor understanding of compounding or behavioral biases compound the problem. Unexpected events, medical, repairs, hit harder when margins are thin, and without literacy, People chase get-rich-quick or ignore long-term planning. Story: Emma ignored retirement contributions, focusing on living now. A health scare revealed high out-of-pocket costs. Her nest egg was minimal. Small choices snowballed. Breakdown: healthcare inflation outpaces general. Compound growth means starting late costs hugely, e.g. $200 a month at 7% over 30 years versus 10. Biases like loss aversion deter investing. Matters, these people vulnerable in old age, reliant on strained systems. Advice: max employer 401k matches first. Build HSA if eligible. Educate via books/podcasts on compounding. Get adequate insurance. Maintain health. Annual financial checkups. I started small retirement contributions late, but the what if regret motivated bigger steps. Humorously, realizing compound interest is free money feels like discovering a cheat code too late. These sections connect as an unfolding story. Inflation erodes base. Housing debt amplify it. Lifestyle and insecurity sustain it. Literacy prevents escape. It's a journey from awareness to agency. We've covered a lot: the inflation trap, quietly stealing purchasing power, the housing crunch devouring budgets, debt's compounding grip, lifestyle illusions fueled by social media, job precarity in a changing economy, and those hidden costs plus literacy gaps that leave people exposed. In 2026, these forces hit normal, hardworking folks hardest because they feel invisible until the damage is done. Stagnant real wages against elevated essentials. Behavioral traps we all fall into. Systemic pressures beyond individual control. But here's the emotional core. You're not failing personally if you're struggling. Millions are in the same boat, feeling the same quiet desperation after another month of scraping by. These insights matter because they reveal the patterns, giving you power to respond rather than react. Recognizing them reconnects us to our humanity. Money isn't just numbers. It's freedom, security, time with loved ones, less worry. The forward-looking message is hopeful but grounded. Small, consistent shifts compound just like debt does, but in your favor. You don't need perfection or a windfall. You need awareness and steady action. Start with one change today: track spending. Pay extra on high-interest debt, skill up, or build that buffer. Over months and years, it builds resilience against whatever 2026 or beyond throws at us. I'm rooting for you genuinely. These conversations remind me why I think about this stuff so much, because understanding the harsh truths frees us to live better, not just survive. You got this, one mindful step at a time. Thanks for spending this time with me. Hit like, subscribe if it resonated, and let's keep talking about real money in a real world. Take care.